What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and I hope your week is off to a good start. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Monday Evening Quarterback. I am Christian Simpson, and I am the creator, the founder, and the NFL analyst slash college football analyst of a company called The Daily Blitz, where we specialize in everything football 24/7, 365. A lot took place the last couple of days in college and in the NFL. And I have a lot to talk about as far as what the show is going to consist of today. The playoff bracket is set. We're going to get into those matchups, talk about that for a little bit. Recap what caught my eye in championship Saturday. We're going to give out a game ball. We're going to go to the phone lines as always. Talk about what caught my eye in the NFL. A look ahead to a hopefully very good game tonight in Orchard Park between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to answer some questions. I'll promote things, and then I'm going to be on my way. So let's dive right into it. As I said just a couple seconds ago, it was Championship Saturday in college football. Regular season has come to an end. Now it's time to see who's going to be fighting for those playoff spots. And there were some really interesting matchups. I want to start with the Big 12 championship. An Oklahoma team was there, but it's not the one that we normally think of that's here at this point. It was the Baylor Bears and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, these two teams met in October 1st to be exact, and Oklahoma State beat them by 10. Both these teams are very similar to one another because they both pride themselves on playing defense. These have been arguably the two best defensive teams in the Big 12 all year. And coming into the game, I previewed this on a website. Coming into the game, I said to myself, the X factor for Oklahoma State, it was going to be the quarterback for the Cowboys. And he goes by the name of Spencer Sanders. And he can be hit or miss. When he's on. But when he struggles, he really struggles. And entering this game, I'm saying to myself, what Spencer are we going to see? Are we going to get good Spencer or are we going to get bad Spencer? And bad Spencer showed up when he shouldn't have. He threw 4 interceptions. Oklahoma State wasn't able to run the football, so that really caused problems offensively for them. Baylor, I love the direction that this program is going in. Dave Aranda, I thought, was a solid hire for this program. I was high on him at LSU. He's a young, innovative guy. He's a defensive-minded guy at that, and his defense came ready to play, as you can see. There was no Gary Bohannon, the quarterback for Baylor, so next man up, and boy, did Blake step up. He came out firing. I don't think he missed on a completion the first couple of plays, first couple of pass attempts, but as the defense started to figure him out, they just really had no answer for him. Baylor ran the football. They were able to run the ball, and they were able to use that play action, bring additional guys into the box, and Oklahoma State bit on the play action every single time. Now, as I'm watching this game, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Oklahoma State could come back and win this game, and they just were that short of really getting themselves back into the game. Ended up losing the game by 5 by a score of 21-16. Baylor. It's a good year to be a representative of Baylor. Your college basketball team won a national championship in April, and your football team not only won a share of the Big 12, but they won the Big 12 Conference Championship. So congratulations to them and Dave Aranda. Let's just say they never lose 2 games. They could have been in that bracket of 4. They were on the outside looking in for most of the year. But that being said, these two both got New Year's Six bowls, if I'm not mistaken. And let's talk about some of the other games. I know Pittsburgh and Wake Forest played on Saturday night in Charlotte. A game that normally we see Clemson in the ACC championship game. Pittsburgh handled its business on Saturday by a score of 46-21. Interesting quarterback battle coming into this game. Kenny Pickett, Sam Hartman, both I think are going to be really good at the next level in the next couple of years. And I gotta give Pittsburgh a lot of credit. Never knew what I was gonna see from Pat Narduzzi and his teams because they can fold at the biggest moments at times, but they were able to play. Um, Looked like it was gonna be all Wake Forest early on because they outscored Pittsburgh by a score of 21-14. But then it was all Pittsburgh the remainder of the game. I'm looking at the stats right here. Kenny Pickett, 20 of 33, 253, 12 yards per pass attempt and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Whereas Sam Hartman didn't have the greatest day of the office. He went 22 of 46, 213, 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. So give a lot of credit to that Pittsburgh defense. They really came ready to play. Another game that was going on around this time for the Pittsburgh Wake Forest game, the Big Ten title game. Michigan Wolverines, Iowa Hawkeyes. This was Michigan's debut in the Big Ten title game, and Iowa, this is their first time playing in the Big Ten title game since 2015 when they played Michigan State back then, and Michigan State ended up winning the game and making the playoff where they fell short to the eventual champion. You guessed it, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'll admit to you, I was nervous about Michigan coming into this game because teams have a tendency of celebrating wins from the week before and bringing that over and transferring that energy over onto the field for the following game. A certain team did that in the NFL, and believe me, I'm getting into that when I get to the NFL segment of Monday Evening Quarterback. But I love how Jim kept them focused. They were innovative offensively. Cade was able to throw the ball. I know he threw an interception, but he got settled in. Cade McNamara, that is. They were still able to get a couple of runs here and there with Corum and Haskins. And how about that defense once again? Just unbelievable, doing it on the biggest stage. Michigan, they're turning naysayers into believers, and Michigan dominated this game by a score of 42-3. It was great to see the Michigan fan base celebrating. It was great to see notable alum and now Pro Football Hall of Famer, my guy Charles Woodson, celebrating with the flag, leading hail to the victors. Michigan not only clinched the Big Ten championship, they clinched their first ever spot in the college football playoff. And Cincinnati, let's talk about them, the AAC championship. Now, I'll admit, I had Houston winning this game because I thought they were going to be a test for Cincinnati, but that wasn't the case. The Cincinnati team is good. They won the AAC championship by beating Houston by a score of 35-20. And they clinched their first spot in the college football playoff. And then the game that everybody was talking about, this was the game that everybody kind of had penciled down since September, October. That was, at that time, the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs against the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. So this is how it worked. If Georgia won, Georgia would have stayed on the 1 line with a 13-0 record, and Alabama probably would have been gone. Because here's the thing: the committee has never allowed a 2-loss team into the playoff, and they're not going to anytime soon. We'll get into that in a few seconds, but man, this was a heavyweight battle. This was prime Mike Tyson and prime Sugar Ray. That's the best analogy I could think of. Or this is like a prime Jordan versus a prime Kobe Bryant. God rest his soul. Going at it. 2 of the best. Everybody's saying, Georgia cruised and they were finally going to get a taste of a real football team, which isn't necessarily wrong because Georgia had coasted along throughout the year, and Georgia's defense hadn't seen the speed that Alabama's offense brought to the table. Alabama hadn't seen a defense like Georgia's all year long. And coming into the game, I said the key was going to be Bryce Young. Protecting Bryce Young, can Alabama keep him on his feet because Georgia's known to bring a lot of exotic looks. They'll run stunts, they'll run blitzes, they'll send linebackers, they'll send safeties and corners on those delayed blitzes that I always talk about. But this was this was a long day at the office for Georgia, and the feeling that Georgia gave so many teams, they finally got that feeling on Saturday. Bryce Young, I think he punched his ticket to the Heisman Trophy. That was his Heisman moment, as I like to say. He beat the number one ranked team in the country. Alabama does it again. They win their eighth SEC championship under Nick Saban in 15 years with a 41-24 score. So get this. Alabama gave up 30 total points in the month of October alone, right? Okay. Saturday they give up 41 right then and there. So with that being said, the college football playoff bracket is officially set. So let's talk about it. The number one match, the number one seed on the bracket, the Alabama Crimson Tide, defending champions. They've been in the playoffs in all but 1 year. Kind of figured that was going to be the scenario if they won this game, and they did. They still showed you, they're the bullies of college football, and if you want to get anywhere, you're going to have to take them down, period. Number two, the Michigan Wolverines, the Big Ten East and the Big Ten Conference champion. Michigan Wolverines, Jim Harbaugh finally did it. He is finally coaching in the college football playoff. They made a couple of New Year's Six bowls here and there the last couple of years, but now they'll be playing on the big stage and won a couple of big games to see if they can do it again. Number three, the Georgia Bulldogs. They fell from 1 to 3. Either way, even if Georgia won that game or even if they lost that game, Georgia was going to be in the playoffs regardless because they would have only had one loss under their belt. Really like what Georgia's done this year defensively. I know they got a little bit of a reality check on Saturday against the Alabama Crimson Tide in Atlanta, but now all they can do now is turn the page, and there's a very strong possibility we could see Alabama Georgia Part 2, this time for the national championship once again. I know we talk about Jim Harbaugh always having that weight, that monkey on his back about not beating Ohio State. Think Kirby Smart doesn't have one? Because since he's become Georgia's head coach, he has not beat his former boss, Nick Saban. Nick Saban has beat him 4 times. Twice now in the SEC championship, once in the national championship, and then they played each other last year in the regular season. So there's a possibility. I mean, he's never beat them, and now I think that's going to be the question because Jim got that pressure off his back. And then the number 4 team in the bracket, for the first time ever, a non-Power 5 school has made the college football playoff. That's the Cincinnati Bearcats, led by Desmond Ridder, Jerome Ford. Luke Fickell is one hell of a coach. So the matchups are the number 1 seed plays the 4 seed, and the 2 seed will host the 3 seed. So number 1 ranked Alabama will host the Cincinnati Bearcats in a Cotton Bowl at Jerry World in Arlington, Texas on New Year's Eve. And then right after that, the number 2 seeded Michigan Wolverines will host the number 3 seeded Georgia Bulldogs. That's going to be a hard-hitting defensive game. When you guys watch this, in the comments, I want to know who you guys think will get to the national championship, which is in Indianapolis, and who you think ends up winning the whole thing. I like knowing your guys' thoughts. And before I go to the phone lines, how about the coaching carousel in college football? Because it's sure been something. Last week when I was on, I talked about Lincoln Riley going to USC, left Oklahoma. I think it's a good hire. I gave my thoughts on that. But right after, when I was recording the Prime with those guys, it was announced that LSU was targeting now former head coach of Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, to be their head guy, and now he's their guy. I like the hire. I know a lot of people are questioning it, but I like the hire. I think everywhere he's gone, he's turned that program around. You look at what he did at Central Michigan. Before they hired Brian, they won 3 games in a total of 4 years. Now, when they hired him back in '04, they won 5 his first year, and then they were playing in the MAC championship, in the MAC championship, just a couple of years later. Wins that, takes a job at Cincinnati with the Bearcats, and in the 40 games under Brian Kelly, the Bearcats went 34-6. Then after that, he packed his bags, went to South Bend, had a nice run at South Bend, 5 double-digit winning seasons under coach, the all-time winningest head coach in Notre Dame football history. Led them to a couple of playoff appearances, a national championship appearance. Didn't win the big game. And now he goes to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's going to be a test for him because you got to deal with Saban, you have to deal with Kirby Smart, and you have to deal with Jimbo Fisher. Let's just throw that out there. And the Florida Gators as well, who's a pretty well-known rival, and Auburn. So the SEC just became a lot more interesting. I think he's going to have this program up and running in no time. I can't wait to see what he does. Like I said, I think it's a great hire. Hopefully, he can get a national championship as everybody else did. Les Miles, Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, who Brian's replacing, and now he is running things in Baton Rouge. Another hire that a couple of more hires that I was really happy about. Marcus Freeman, the defensive coordinator from Notre Dame, was promoted to head coach, and I am so happy for him. I just saw how his defense gravitated to him, and did you guys see that video of him coming in, had the suit on and everything, clean suit at that, and just jumping around with his players, and he speaks to his players talking about we're focusing on right now. That program's headed in the right direction. He's young. He's only 35 years old, and he is young and innovative, and those are the type of coaches that are in. But another one that I was happy about, Brent Venables. I've been high on him. I've referred to him as arguably the greatest defensive-minded head coach in college football. He took the Oklahoma job. Now, he's going to get that defense right in Norman because they've needed it. They've been horrible the last couple of years. The offense, I think, is still going to be good, but finally he's getting his shot to coach, and he's been under a really good one the last couple of years. And Dabo Swinney out there in Clemson, where they dominated the ACC. They were making the playoffs, and they were getting to a couple of championships and winning those championships at that. So happy for him. And Mario Cristobal, leaving Oregon for his alma mater at Miami, kind of saw that coming. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when at this point. Miami fired Manny Diaz, and then boom, Mario was the head coach of the U. Let's see if he can bring that program back to relevance, because when that legendary program is up and running and they're doing well, I just think the whole sport of college football is good as a whole. But with that being said, let me give out a game ball to a certain somebody. I think it's no surprise here. Giving it to Bryce Young. That kid went 26 of 44, 421 yards, and 3 touchdown passes in Alabama's win over the Georgia Bulldogs, and I think he has sealed up the Heisman Trophy. You can give it to him at this point with a big red bow on it. Before I get into anything in the NFL, how about we go to the phone lines? Right now, I have a caller on the line. Caller, you're on Monday, even a quarterback with the analyst. How can I help you?
Hey, what's going on, man?
So who am I speaking with? Because this voice sounds awfully familiar.
Man, this is your boy Tony Walker, man, calling you from the Shy.
T-Dub Audio.
Yeah, T-Dub Audio. For those of you who are not so familiar with that, or who that is, I'm just basically
Colts would be in this position right now if it weren't for Jonathan Taylor. And I think you know my rule. You better have game. If you have two first names, it's only right. He reminds me of a more explosive Michael Turner who went to NIU, played for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, he's everything. Yup, he's everything I thought he would be in the NFL. He just quietly goes about business, and I really like him. I can't wait to see what he does next.
So you say a chance to win the MVP. Do you think he actually will?
I don't know if he actually will. It depends on where the Colts are toward the end of the year. Like, if they make the playoffs, I'll give them at least a 70% shot at winning the MVP.
We saw Gardner Minshew come in today and throw 2 touchdowns. He basically completed his first 11 passes. He had an 80% completion percentage. Will he be the starting quarterback the rest of the way, regardless of Jalen Hurts' health?
I'm always a believer in going with the hand that's hot, so I would, especially if you're moving the football with him up and down the field. I would. So I'll say yes. I think so. I think this is really going to get people talking. Jalen still has a little bit of learning to do. He's improved, but he's not where I feel he needs to be right now.
Minnesota handed the Detroit Lions their first win of the season.
They sure did.
What's going on with that defense on that final play?
Look.
So you're playing some sort of prevent, but you're supposed to pick those guys up as soon as they cross the goal line.
Exactly. I think it was just a miscommunication in coverage. I think it was just people falling asleep at the most inopportune time possible.
You just let him cross the goal line and nobody picked him up and nobody, there was no bracket. I've never seen anything like that before.
I haven't either. And the former defensive player in me cringed as soon as I saw it. And I think you're going to hear me rant about this on the Prime very soon. So, yeah, I think it was just a glitch in coverage. The worst time to have one. It's cool if this happens, in the first quarter. But to win the game, nah.
This is going to hand Mike Zimmer his walking papers, I think, Ben.
And what makes it, I'm so glad you said that. That's perfect segue. What makes this even worse is Mike Zimmer is a defensive-minded guy. You see what I'm saying? So that's what makes this even worse, man.
It's just baffling. You had timeouts you could have burnt before the play started just to tell your defense, hey, don't let this happen. And that, I don't know.
Right.
Then my final question for you, Mr. Simpson. Who is the best team in both conferences right now?
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot like that.
Yeah, I got to. The Ravens kind of look like they were going to be that team, but they've had 2 rough games and going for 2 and costing the game there. The Buffalo's been up and down. New England's been up and down. The NFC, they got the Cardinals, Packers, Cowboys, Buccaneers, Rams. But who is the best team in both conferences right now?
So in the AFC right now, I think it's New England. I just like the way New England's looking right now. They're running the football. I'm getting flashbacks to 2001 watching them because they're playing methodical offense, and I'm still just going to keep throwing shade at everybody who said Mac Jones can't throw. He's completing over 71% of his passes, so...
This is coming out of college. The guy had insane accuracy, highest completion percentage.
Exactly. The defense is playing well, and look, they're anchored by the best head coach, not just in the NFL, might be in NFL history, and Bill Belichick, and a lot of people are saying this might be his best job possible. Now, the NFC, you can go in so many different directions with this one. You could say Arizona, you could say Dallas, and nobody would be wrong, but I'm going to lean toward the Green Bay Packers because I think they have the best quarterback, or one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. They're running the football with Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon's getting his touches. He's spreading the ball around to his receivers. You see how key Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Randall Cobb, and you already know what Devontae Adams is going to do. But look at how the others have stepped up, and they know their role. And defensively, they're improved, and they own that head-to-head tiebreaker over Arizona. So the 1 seed in the NFC is either going to travel through Arizona or Green Bay.
I don't have any argument against any of those predictions.
True.
And then my final question for you. This will be quick. What are your thoughts on the Ravens going for 2?
To channel my inner Herm Edwards, you do play to win the game, but me personally, I would have taken a field goal, let it go into overtime, because 2 points isn't always guaranteed, and you saw it right there. Can't blame Lamar. Mark Andrews just didn't get his arms out in perfect time to like really scoop that ball up. So Baltimore, I've been trying to figure them out all year. Like, what team are they? Are they the team that blew out Denver and then turned around a couple weeks later and blew out the Chargers? Or are they the team that struggled mightily with the Cleveland Browns or let the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the game? Like, they're really a mix-up right now, and I really don't know who they are. Normally, this team has an identity, and this year, this team doesn't.
This Ravens team reminds me a lot of the Steelers from last year. So they're winning a lot of games, but they're not winning them like convincingly. So they're winning them kind of ugly. And like at the end of the year, that basically bit Pittsburgh in the butt by the end of the year. They basically started to fall apart. And I think the Ravens, I mean, they were without basically their starting corners in this game, going down with injury, which is probably where that Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh went for two there because he just didn't think his defense was going to be able to make stops. And,
right.
You know,
right.
This Ravens, reminds me a lot of that Steelers team from last year. Like they're winning games, but they're just kind of winning them kind of close and kind of gritty.
Right.
Not really super convincingly.
Yeah, I like that comparison a lot. Now, David, before I end every phone call, I always ask people what their favorite thing is about the Daily Blitz. So now I present that question to you.
So my favorite thing about the Daily Blitz, I think might be the shameless plugs, man. Like, I just love it when we're ever doing a show together on the Prime, and you just run a shameless plug during our show, man. It's just I love your excitement for what you do, man. Your writing is so insightful, and just the shameless plug, man. I just love it, man. I can't get enough of it.
Man, I truly appreciate you for coming on, Mr. David On Point. Man, thank you so much for finally being on Monday Evening Quarterback. You know, the doors of MEQ are always open. We're gonna have to do this again, okay?
Hell yeah, my friend. You have a good night, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you.
In a couple days.
Absolutely. Man, I love doing those phone calls. And if you're watching this and you're wondering, can that be you? Yeah, it could be you. Let me know, man. You can contact me anytime. I'm always taking the phone calls left and right, day by day, pre-recording them and sharing them with you here on MEQ. And I thought that was perfect segue to dive into the NFL. So it's week 13 of the NFL, almost in the books. We got one more game left. Playoff picture is really starting to form itself. Let's address the elephant in the room. The Detroit Lions, they finally won a football game. Finally beat the Minnesota Vikings, who I think are frauds. I don't know about you, but beat the Vikings by a score of 29-27. That was a game Minnesota should have won, but they let an opportunity slip through their hands once again. The defense, as you heard me on my phone caller talk about, when you play prevent defense, God, it's to prevent them from moving forward. And it seemed like that guy was in a zone scheme. I don't know what planet he was on. And what makes it, as I said, so disappointing is Mike Zimmer is a defensive-minded coach. So what's going on, Mike? I think the Vikings need to move on from him. I can't even put this on Kirk Cousins because Kirk doesn't play defense. I think that's just the easiest way to do things when you're a football team. When something doesn't go right, put it on the quarterback because they're the most important position and they take most of the blame 9 times out of 10. Minnesota just really struggled throughout the game. 1 minute they had the lead, next minute the Lions are fighting down the field. Adam Thielen did get hurt. He messed up his ankle. He did not return to the game. So Justin Jefferson was the key guy, and he had a day. I cannot wait to see what this kid does moving forward. He's the real deal. He has the potential to be top 5 within the next couple of years. I also want to give a tip of the cap to Dan Campbell. I almost said Dan Quinn. Got my Dan's confused. As you guys know, there was a horrific tragedy in Oxford, Michigan. Last week it was a school shooting. My thoughts, my heart and prayers go out to all the families and all those that were affected by that shooting. Meant to say that yesterday on What's on Tap, my IGTV series, but glad I did it here on this platform. Coach decided to dedicate a game ball to the city of that high school, Oxford. He read off all the victims who tragically lost their lives last week, and just thought that was a really class move by Coach and the Detroit Lions. The Lions are finally winners 29-27. There were a couple teams that had to get right. The Indianapolis Colts and the Los Angeles Rams were two of them. And if there was ever an opportunity for the Rams to get right, yesterday was it. You played Jacksonville. The Jaguars aren't a good football team. You beat them down. And the Colts, they pitched a shutout against the Houston Texans in Houston to stay afloat in that AFC playoff picture. But I think the biggest thing that I took away from week 13, the Los Angeles Chargers, that's a humongous win for them against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are fool's gold. Let's just call it what it is. Because this is the second time they've done this. Looked impressive. I give them props. They win the game. And then the following week, they fail to show up. And remember at the beginning of the show, I said there was a team that was celebrating last week's win still and didn't decide to show up yesterday. Lo and behold, yesterday's Cincinnati Bengals, and give the Los Angeles Chargers a ton of credit because they were able to push the ball down the field. Herbert took care of the ball. He was sacked a couple of times, but other than that, he was able to get the ball off, spread the ball around to his receivers. And how about that? Excuse me. How about that Chargers defense? They were able to bottle up Joe Mixon, tee off on Joe Burrow, get those sacks, really make the Bengals a one-dimensional football team. That's such a humongous win for them going into Cincinnati and staying in the thick of the playoff hunt. Both teams now are 7-5, and because of yesterday's victory by LA, they own that tiebreaker over Cincinnati. So if the playoffs started today, the Chargers would be the 6th seed and the Bengals would be the 7th seed. I can't stress it enough. In this business, you can celebrate wins for maybe a day or two, but you have to turn the page and you have to show up. You just can't show up and not come ready to play. You see what I'm saying? And give the Chargers a lot of credit. They won this game by a score of 41-22. The Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, they got some reinforcements back yesterday. Kyler Murray came back. DeAndre Hopkins came back, and what a perfect opportunity. They had a scrimmage against the Chicago Bears in wet Chicago. What elements, no problems. Kyler accounted for 4 touchdowns. The defense was opportunistic. They picked off Andy Dalton a total of 4 times in the game yesterday. But I want to say this about Arizona now. They're 10-2. They beat the 1 seed in the NFC, but they still have to keep a lookout for Green Bay because Green Bay does own that head-to-head tiebreaker over them. Arizona has to run the football a little bit more. I think they're a little too dependent on Kyler Murray, and that's part of the reason why I'm not sold on them. And there are a couple of teams I feel that are savvy enough to beat Arizona. I think Tampa could beat them. Come on, man, that's Tom Brady. That's the greatest ever to do it. Green Bay could get them again, but I will say I think the 1 seed in the NFC will travel through State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, or Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. How about that Ravens and Steelers game yesterday? Rivalry game. News coming out the day before that Ben Roethlisberger has informed some of his former teammates and some of the current people that work for the Steelers that he expects this to be his final year in Pittsburgh, and it's time. Look, he's been great. Still remember the day when he came into the league and how everybody was having trouble pronouncing his name, but he went on to lead the Steelers to a 15-1 record in 2004 as a rookie. Won every game that year he started. So then the following year, he's able to lead the Steelers to a Super Bowl. Send off now Pro Football Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis out onto the sunset. Ben's been great for this franchise. He's exactly what it means to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and it's time because he looks old. never has great games, but then he doesn't have bad games either. So he's almost in between right there. Rivalry day. Ravens and Steelers. This rivalry, I could talk about this rivalry for forever. It's that entertaining. You know what you're gonna get. The games are usually close, and they come down to the fourth quarter, and it ends up being a classic, as we saw yesterday. Now, I'm having some issues with the Baltimore Ravens, as my phone caller said, because I'm still trying to figure the Baltimore Ravens out. It seems like they have not been right all year. Had to come back against Kansas City, needed Justin Tucker's leg, 66 yards to win the game in Detroit. Struggle with Indianapolis, and you have to come back. Just struggle against the Bengals. The Dolphins, he didn't look all that great. Then there's no Lamar for the game in Chicago against the Bears. And the offense has just been stale. They haven't cracked 20 in quite some time. You struggle against Cleveland, who you play this upcoming Sunday. That's a quick turnaround. And you have another game with the Bengals. You have another game with the Steelers. Two teams that you've lost to in your division. The Ravens are 8-4. I still think they can win this division, but they're going to have to go back to the drawing board because something's not right. I think the Dolphins have opened up that playbook on how to stop Lamar. Keep him in the pocket. Take away those running lanes, blitz him, force him to be a pocket passer now. He can throw the ball from the pocket, but make him drop back over 35 times. He can't do it. He's shown he can't do it. He needs to move the pocket. He needs to make throws on a run. He needs things to happen with his feet. And whenever I think of Ravens football, I think of a team that has an identity. This team doesn't have an identity this year. They lost that game yesterday. Do I agree with them going for two? I understand why they did it, but I would have taken the field goal because you have more football to play, and I think that would have given you some momentum. But my thing is, I get you do play to win the game, and I can't blame Lamar for that pass. Mark Andrews just simply let a pass go through his hands. He catches that, and we have a tied ball game. It's 21-21. But they couldn't do it. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. 2019 was the score in the game. They just struggled. That's all it was. Look at these stats for Lamar. Lamar was 23 of 37, 253 yards passing, a touchdown, an interception, and he was sacked 7 times. So the Ravens' offensive line didn't come ready to play. And guess who your leading rusher was for the Baltimore Ravens? Lamar Jackson. Can't wait to see what this team does. They have to go back to the drawing board somehow, some way. And they even took a bigger blow yesterday. Now, their injury bug has really built up since training camp going into the season. They lost J.K. Dobbins. You lost Gus Edwards to torn ACLs. Then you lose Marcus Peters, who's probably your best corner in that secondary, to a torn ACL. Now, they've lost Deshaun Elliott. And now there's no Marlon Humphrey for the remainder of the year. He injured his shoulder, and that's a big blow for an already decimated and depleted Ravens secondary. The Steelers saved their season yesterday. Now, Ben didn't look the greatest, nor did he look bad. He was just in between. He just has to be a game manager at this point. He can't throw the ball more than, I'm going to say now, even 20 times. I think 25 will be too much. They have to run the football. They have to use a short, quick passing game, just like they did last year. That's the only way they can win. They're not going to win trying to get in the shootouts because they have a quarterback that can't do that. So the Steelers definitely made things interesting, especially after being just flat out embarrassed last week at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. Tampa Bay, they won. They beat the Atlanta Falcons. Brady threw the football 51 times, but I'm still not sold on that Tampa defense, and that's going to be the reason why they do not repeat as defending champions. Brady right now would be my MVP, though. I will say that much. How about the Chiefs? Now, the Chiefs won again. They've won 5 in a row. They're doing it with defense. And Steve Spagnuolo has 4 pass rushers to his luxury. Now, if you followed along with Steve Spagnuolo, he's a defensive coordinator who loves rushing the passer. He loves those pass rushers. Look at what he did with the Giants those 2 years when they won the Super Bowl back in 2007 and 2011. Their defense was built to rush the passer. He called it that NASCAR pass rush, and he has 4 guys that can each get to the quarterback: Melvin Ingram, Chris Jones, Jaron Reed, and Frank Clark. And the acquisition of Melvin now gives Chris Reed the chance and the leverage to play on the inside where he does his best work. Chiefs offense didn't really look all that great, but the defense came ready to play. Now, when the offense and the defense match each other's intensity, this is a scary football team. I think we know what we're capable of seeing. I'm getting 2019 flashes when I watch this Chiefs team. They're 8-4. Speaking of that, all 4 division leaders in the AFC have a record of 8-4. Isn't that something? Unbelievable. The AFC is in for quite the competition. The Dolphins are rolling. The Steelers, they're still on the outside looking in. The Colts are on the outside looking in. And yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to watch. It's definitely going to be able to watch. It's going to be fun to watch all this race unfold, even in the NFC, because all those division leaders can take that 1 seed in the NFC, if we're being honest. So the road to SoFi is completely wide open, and I love every second of this. Let's give out a game ball in the NFL. I'm giving it to the Los Angeles Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert. Justin went 26 of 35, 317 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns in a big road win over the Cincinnati Bengals to keep their playoff hopes alive. Just excuse me, just a big bounce back win for the Los Angeles Chargers, considering how they looked last week against the Denver Broncos. I couldn't think of that for the life of me. So, it's question time, and I did get a question. So, this one comes from Joe Grisso. What's up, Joe? What is the most likely Super Bowl matchup? He has 2. That's the first one. And the second one is, what Super Bowl matchup will drive the highest ratings? So, the most likely Super Bowl matchup, that's tough, because you could say Arizona versus Kansas City. That would be interesting. You could say New England versus Green Bay. You could say Dallas versus New England. You could say Tampa Bay versus Baltimore. Like, there's just so many different options that you could go with. So, and I'm not trying to avoid your question, but that's such a loaded question. And the second one is, what Super Bowl matchup will drive the highest ratings? Oh, easily, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. They're 2 superstars. They've won 2 of the last 3 MVPs. They're 2 of the best playing the position right now. And every time we go to get an Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl, something happens. The first time, Mahomes was hurt. Last time, Rodgers was struck with COVID. And even in between that, we could have had a Super Bowl between Rodgers and Mahomes, and one handled the end of the bargain, the other didn't, because he ended up getting eliminated. So I think that would draw the highest ratings in the Super Bowl, and maybe even Brady and Mahomes. I know we got that last year with Kansas City and Tampa Bay, but you have an icon playing the position against a young up and comer who is the face of the NFL right now. So that's what I would say. Lamar versus Brady, I think, would give us some great ratings. And yeah, so thanks for the question, Joe. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for always being a loyal supporter. One more thing before I close out. We finally have a great game on tap tonight on Monday Night Football. In the AFC East, New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills. New England, I think they're the best team in the AFC right now. They run the ball. Mac Jones is methodical and he can control that offense. They have great weapons on the outside, and the defense is opportunistic. They're getting takeaways. Buffalo, look, I like Buffalo. I don't know which Buffalo team is going to show up though, because are we going to see what we saw on Thanksgiving last week against the New Orleans Saints, or are we going to get what we saw against Indy and Jacksonville? So, what do we see? I think this is going to be a hard hitting, low scoring game. I could say 23 points ends up winning this game, which isn't terribly high. Um, I like New England in this one. I think New England goes on the road. They'll run the football. That's another reason why I don't really trust Buffalo in this game, because they're too inconsistent when it comes to pounding the rock. And New England can run the football. They're going to keep Josh Allen on that sideline. I like New England, and this is the first of two matchups because we'll see these two play in a couple of weeks. With that being said, guys, I'm going to end the show. Once again, I've had so much fun. I hope you guys enjoy watching this as much as I've had fun recording it. How can you keep up with me? Log on to the website, thedailyblitz.blog, enter your email address and become a subscriber today. Follow us on Twitter at dailyblitz_61. Like the Facebook fan page. Go to facebook.com and in the search box type in The Daily Blitz. Hit the thumb, like the Facebook fan page, and follow us on Instagram at Daily Blitz, at The Daily Blitz_61. Keep up with me on the radio. As you guys know, every Monday evening quarterback will come your way. Then right after this, literally after I'm done recording this, I'm gonna jump on the Prime. You can catch me on the Prime every Monday and Tuesday with David Hoffman, Israel Rivera, TJ Hopkins, and Matt James. Every Wednesday night, you can catch me on the Nerd Zone with Ronnie Kumpf, Christopher Lawrence, John Danzo, Ryan Shaw. Every Friday, you can catch me on College Football Showdown with Israel Rivera, Matt James, and TJ Hopkins. Every Sunday, you can catch me on WCPT 8:20 a.m. The Sports Cubicle with Devin Tingle, my man Sistine Chapel, a.k.a. Michelangelo Mercado, and Paul Shavari, better known to me as Professor Buckets. And if you live outside the state of Illinois and want to check that out, want to tune in to support me, I will gladly send you the link beforehand before I go on. And then every Saturday and Sunday, you can catch my IGTV series entitled What's on Tap, where I look ahead to what's on the up-and-coming schedule of football action, whether it be in college, and then usually I have a recap show the day after, recapping what caught my eye the day before, and looking ahead to what's on tap, pun intended, for the day of football action. As always, I love giving shout outs. I'm going to do that again. Shout out my incredible, beautiful, amazing family. My mother, love you so much. My sister Taylor, love you always. My son, aka my dog Siebes. My other siblings, Sean Jameson, Janice Jameson. Some of my closest friends, Jason Tyree, Robert Butler, Candace Carter, Kimmel Fryer, my guy Joshua Johnson. Let me tell you guys about this guy. Today is actually his birthday. 31 years old. He's been nothing but a solid friend to me, and I just wanted to make sure I shouted him out on his birthday today. I hope you're enjoying it with the wife and the kids and the family. Another shout out my guys, everybody I contribute for on the radio, who I just mentioned before. Shout out my guys, Corey Harris, Deshaun Elliott, Rob Carter, Mike Griffin, Alex Bennett, my other guy, Alex, who I call Esquire, and my other guy, Sad Days, Dominique. So proud of everything that you're accomplishing and what you're out here doing. You said you were going to do something, and you're doing the doggone thing. And I want to give a shout out to my co-analyst, Cole Johnson, and our moderator, D. Eason. He he keeps us right. He keeps us sharp, and can't wait to talk some more football with those guys right after this. But I'm off to go do the prime. I will see you guys next Monday, God willing. That's actually my birthday, so that's going to be a very special episode. Stay confident. Uh, you can do anything. There's nothing you can't do. Okay, sorry I lost my whole words there, but whatever you want, you can do it. Go out and get it. And I'm off to go do the prime. As I just said, I'm Christian Simpson. Take care. God bless.